All right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. How are you all doing? It's very weird. I have like 60 or 70 comments already on YouTube, but they're telling me that only 6 people are watching. That's kind of strange. You guys have been talking a lot, or... Although I did set up the YouTube stream a little bit late today, so that always somehow impacts how many people are around at the beginning of the show. But we're live on Rockfin too. What's up, Rockfinners? Rockfinuts. And we're live on Callin. We have people on Callin. The colonizers. How you doing? And we're live on YouTube. All right, it's Friday. It's Friday Fix, and we're doing a little more relaxed, interactive show today. Although you might not be able to guess by the fact that generally most of my shows are relaxed and interactive, but anyways, we're here. I mean, there's plenty of news stories to talk. Did anybody see the, I remembered, oops, don't want to see two of me. I remembered, right before the show, anybody see the town hall with RFK Jr. In Chicago? It's interesting. It's an interesting town hall. So he was saying, like, I'll go for nuclear power if it was safe and cost efficient. And he broke down the reasons why it's not safe and not cost efficient. Those are very interesting reasons. I don't know. Do you guys, it's kind of a long, I think to listen to the whole thing might be kind of long, but I'm paraphrasing. And it sounds like RFK Jr. is a big fan of renewable energy, or a proponent. So, you know, for those of you who understand the situation as it is on the ground, the facts on the ground about renewable energy. So it sounds like he was basically saying, I'll support nuclear energy, but I'm not a fan of it as it stands. And so it was kind of a strange answer. The other interesting part of the whole town hall was the very open discussion about vaccines. And that was interesting. I'll have to say right now, RFK Jr. is the odds on. I say, and a lot of people are coming around, and a lot of people might go, oh my God, it's so ridiculous that you're saying this. But I have to say, he's the odds on favorite right now. Trump who? Biden who? And they know there's no sound on Colin. Are you sure? Okay. Oh, now there's sound? Okay. Is there sound? It's okay now? Okay. I don't know. Maybe I can find it. I don't know if it's worth finding right now. Not that it's not worth listening to. Let's see. Listen, here's the thing. They're going to have a hard time. I mean, this is interesting. From Pasta, at the latest town hall, RFK refused to blindly pledge his backing to the Democratic candidate if he should not win the nomination. I don't think this. Well, you know what? I don't know if this is the same town hall that I watched. I think this is a different one. He did a town hall like in Chicago. I'm not sure if this is the same one. That I watched on YouTube. I'm not sure if this is the same one. But he really he went, kind of hard on the he went kind of hard on the vaccine issue, and they gave him a lot of airtime on that. And it's interesting that there's a public debate going on now, and one that people are finding. Listen, people have not been allowed to debate this. That's the problem, or that's to the benefit of RFK Jr. Right? Anybody who comes out and says the real things out loud that are not allowed, kind of not allowed to be spoken of in polite circles, or the media does a really good job of rear-ending any conversation about something important, right? When somebody with enough, political profile, I guess, enough of a large enough of a footprint, media footprint, or popularity footprint. I don't know really how to say that. I'm putting it very badly, but you know what I'm saying. When somebody that has kind of a certain cachet or respect, such as RFK Jr., comes out and says the real things out loud, people respond. People are like, "Oh boy, we get to talk about this now." Is that what you're saying? Oh, cool. Let's talk about it. Right? The conversation that has, to this point, been pushed off of mainstream media and a lot of social media by censorship is now being allowed to be discussed out loud. And so it's an interesting time. And I have to say, they're going to have a hard time. What the point that I was actually wanted to make, they're going to have a hard time silencing RFK Jr. They're really going to have a hard time with it. They'll try all the things that they did to Bernie, but I don't think it's not going to work as well. It was easier to call, everybody who, there's just, there are more known knowns now. People are more aware of what's going on now politically. People are more aware of, how bad and sad the media is, and people are not paying attention, and the media is responding because the media knows this, because people respond by not checking in or tuning in. And they understand that if they don't become part of the conversation or allow the conversation to happen, that they will be tuned out even more. Right? And they don't want that. They want viewers and they want eyeballs. So they're in a precarious position, kind of like Tucker Carlson has the most popular show on TV. This is awesome. He's the most popular guy on our channel. Oh, but we can't allow him to say these things, so let's fire him. You end up, putting yourself in a position. So if you shut down RFK, if you shut down the discussion that he brings to the table, and you shut down RFK, and you push him out, you run the risk of people, even more so, just turning around and walking away from the whole thing altogether, right? They won't. It'll be harder to believe, like RFK Biden. It's going to be harder to believe, that Biden wins that thing. I'm sorry. It's just, and that's the thing. You can only rely on it on believability, right? You can kind of, you can sway things in elections and whatever. You can sway, but it only works on the level of believability, right? Biden was only believable because, supposedly or apparently Trump was just so bad, right? and they built the narrative up around. They impeached him twice and bop but boop ba doo, and and they got him all. They got him, and he was controversial during the pandemic, and there was the pandemic, and people were in a state of chaos and confusion, and so you had to it was very polarizing. But I think Biden winning was a more believable scenario in the last election. So yeah, RFK, Biden, it's just not. I'm sorry, it is just not. It's not believable that Biden wins that. It's just not believable unless they do something to RFK, smear him or taint him in such a way that he is unrecoverable. I'm waiting for maybe that's why. Maybe this is why a lot of people had problems with RFK coming out and talking about Israel the way he was. Right? People had a problem with what he said about Israel, meaning I'm pro. What he said was I'm pro Israel, and I'm fully with Israel. They can't, I don't know. There's a political slant to that, in the sense that, well, you can't smear him as an anti-Semite, can you? If he didn't come out just saying like free Palestine, right? He didn't come out fully free Palestine. He actually kind of gave the standard stock I love Israel answer that most politicians give. And I think that is a political move, and probably a savvy one, because if you can't, you can't really smear him as a racist. You can't smear him as an anti-Semite. You can't, the only thing you really got on RFK is, anti-vax or something. But his science is, his take is pretty solid. It's kind of hard to punch holes through it. And that's about all you can do. And, on top of that, you have the Kennedy name. You have him going out and giving like really super common sense answers to, what would you do if you were president? And the things he says make a lot of sense. They're just common sense. He's indicating, hey, we have problems. Hey, this is how I'm going to fix them. Hey, I intend to do it like this, and this. Anyways. I don't really get that. Timothy Martin, Marathon Man, going on in Russian? I don't really understand what that means. You think RFK is pro-Russian? I don't know, man. I think you lost me on that one. Not sure what you're trying to say by that. Please clarify, because I don't know. Anyways, the lines are pretty much open today. We're kind of talking about whatever. Anyways, from a climate change standpoint, the RFK town hall that I saw, he was kind of just going by the, what's the most cost effective form of energy, and it's by far renewables. And so he's, extremely pro renewable. We know this. Does that make you, as a person who's aware of the situation on the planet, does that make you, does that pause? Does that sound just, like somebody pushing the problem down the road like anybody else? What's up, William? How you doing?
Hey, Kev, I'm the first caller in. Let's get the boys. Mashallah.
Yeah, if anybody else wants to get in, you can get in here and
Absolutely.
Rich,
So
hold on 1 second. Rich Diana says among Dem voters, Biden leads RFK 60% to 20%. Really? I find that hard to believe. I find that what kind of, is that a real poll? Is that a very skewed poll? I mean, sure. But Biden really, I have a hard time believing that Biden. I have a hard time believing that Biden is super popular with people because I just don't. For what? For what reason? For just being a dude standing around doing what? Yeah, I have a hard time believing that. I mean, it's kind of like the polls when Hillary and Trump were running, and they were like, it's neck and neck, but Hillary's got the lead by 8% or 10% or whatever it was. They pushed out every single week, and those numbers were not real. Those numbers were absolutely not real. Whatever polls they were using for that were super, super duper skewed. Those were not real numbers. And then, I've told you the story about when they do, there were some snap polls online, with Hillary and Bernie and Hillary and Trump. And all the snap polls were like 80% Bernie and 10% Hillary. I was like, those are the real numbers. Those are the real numbers. Yeah, it's a CNN poll. Yeah, Rich Diana, CNN poll. I mean, you really, I have questions. If it's a CNN poll, I have questions. Could it be true? I'm sure. I feel like that's yeah, I don't think so. I don't know what makes Biden so popular. What is it about, what is it about what he's doing that makes people go, yeah, listen, Rich Diana, his favorability numbers are underwater, like by the most of any president at this time in their tenure. So how is he getting 60% of a poll against RFK? He's super. He's not very well liked Biden by anybody, anywhere. He's got bad polling and bad ratings, and so I don't know. How that did they call a select group of like, well, we know these people love Biden. Did they call those people? I don't know. Call all the people that worked on his campaign first. And ask them have Simone Sanders run the poll. I'm sure that's what happened. What's up, William? I'm just talking away.
Oh, I was just punching in. We're number 2, Kev, New York Metro City for the worst air quality in the world today. Yeehaw! According to the reports I just found.
Yeah.
Oh, baby. Number 2 in the world. Great. This is New York. Okay, I'm in Connecticut, just up the coast, about 45, 50 minutes by train, into the Grand Central. So give you an idea of a subway combination. So anyway, just thought So they say it's due to possibly the wind shifting from the Central Valley down from Canada out to the East Coast from the Canadian wildfires, right? And all the fallout from all these toxic chemicals. It may also maybe have something to do with East Palestine, like everything that goes up must come down, you think? Maybe it has something still to do with that. I don't know. All these toxic chemicals come raining down on us today. It's not just
right.
Something that we can ignore because, of course, we talked about. I just want to know again. The reports were 10, 11 tanker cars derailed, and yet I had pulled up before the diagram, EPA diagram that showed 22. Remember, Kev, we went over that. I could post it again if you want, but. So what happened to all those chemicals? We don't know. We don't know. Hey, whatever.
Right.
Here we are. This is Disinformation Central.
Right.
Not your show. But
right. I found this article from The Hill real quick on the polling from Biden and RFK. And so there might be some interesting things in here. Yes, Rich Diana, he's not Trump, which I guess is the metric, I guess. I mean, he kind of is Trump if you actually look at his policies. The things that he actually does, the fact that he's just not wearing the Trump face, that he doesn't wear a full bodysuit in the image of Trump, makes him not Trump. But otherwise, he's basically Trump in everything that he does. But try explaining that to people who care. I don't know. President Biden holds a strong lead over his long shot. They had to add the word long. This is from The Hill, by the way. 2024 Democratic primary is so RFK Jr., the son of Robert Kennedy and the nephew of JFK, is a long shot. I don't know. Are you sure? Anyways, a strong showing for Biden comes despite the fact that 70% of respondents indicated they are concerned about his age. The president will turn 81 in November. The poll also found that 100% of respondents who identified as having very conservative ideology said they would vote for Kennedy in a Democratic primary. Underscoring the belief among many Biden allies that Kennedy is being boosted by some on the right in an effort to weaken the president. He can't do that all by himself. Biden's just a strong guy. He's out there and he's leading the country and he's doing all the right things and people love him. And there's this effort, this nefarious effort. I mean, okay. The Hill is, super corporately funded, by the way. There's the nefarious effort from the right to undermine this beautiful, loved candidate Biden. Okay, right. The wording of this already is slappy. Anyways, Kennedy is polled in the double digits in some recent surveys, feeding media coverage about whether he poses a viable challenge to the incumbent president. Yeah, I want to see a Snap online poll on Twitter and or somewhere else. Yeah, I don't, I'm having a hard time believing this poll. That's just me. I'm having a really hard time believing this poll. So anyways, I mean, sure. Okay. That's what he's polling at. That's what he's polling at. Did anybody see that Greta Thunberg met with Zelensky? Why? I don't know, wishful thinking, Poppy Davis. Wishful thinking that that it's not true or the poll's not real. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about RFK, Poppy Davis? Or do you think he's super unpopular and Biden is super popular and that he should just win the vote handily because Biden is just doing a bang up job? What do you think, William?
Well, what do I think about the political polling and whatnot? I think it's all propaganda. I don't buy any of it anyway. I don't think most people are behind Biden or ever have been. The presidents are selected, not elected, in my opinion, Kevin. So
Yeah.
I don't really pay attention to that bullshit, to be honest with you. I mean, it doesn't really matter who's president. Just look at the cabinet. Who's in charge, really? Come on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a globalist always. The Council Formulation members, Trilateral Commission members, World Economic Forum, Bilderbergers, global banksters. We see this all the time.
And that's why people have wondered why Greta met with Zelensky. Right? Because they bring in all these like high profile, people who are kind of pseudo spooky, celebrities to come meet with Zelensky. Like, yeah, we got your back, right? Like it seems strange that Greta would meet with Zelensky, but I mean, I don't know. It's a PR thing. It's a PR thing that people are doing we sat down with Zelensky today and asked him about
You're talking Greta Thunberg,
Greta Thunberg
activist?
met with
Thunberg.
Zelensky. I don't know why, but why would she? What's the
Well, it's look over here. Hey, look at this
Yeah.
media, boondoggle like razzle dazzle 'em. I mean, come on, this is all fucking nonsense. Pardon my French. I mean, you know what I mean.
I mean,
It's
is
all
she lying?
nonsense.
Is she? I don't know. Is she? Lining herself up for a political campaign, or what's the point? You're in a war, an all-out war with with Russia. And I'm here to meet with you and talk about how green we can make this. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you? Why? What purpose does that serve? Other than actually making her look bad, she makes herself look worse every day. This has been the year. This has been the year that Greta Thunberg has just lost all credibility. Really, sorry, I just don't. I don't think anybody really believes her anymore, or not a lot of people believe her anymore. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people still love Greta Thunberg, but I have issues with how she's carried herself and what she's been doing lately. And I don't know. She seems like more of a psyop every day, or more of a photo op, maybe not psyop, but photo op. So what? Is she helping or hurting people who are really trying to bring awareness? She jumped the shark, says Caleb. Yes.
Yeah, but Kev, isn't that what they want us talking about, as opposed to anything that really matters?
I mean, well, yeah. Sure.
I mean, why don't we talk about how Larry Fink, BlackRock, talks about how they're going to rebuild Ukraine? Like maybe, just maybe, that war was generated for a reason. Should we talk about that? How the globalists generate war all the time around the world and finance it?
Exactly. Well, yeah, and that's if you look at it that way, which is the correct way, I think. And I mean, if you go back to World War II and see what kind of financial forces were funding all the sides, it goes back centuries, right?
Oh yeah.
That financial entities fund both sides of the war, and they're reaping massive profit, and and it's great for the economy and stuff like that, right? World War II was a huge economic boon to a worldwide depression, right? Basically, World War II got us out of a depression because it was an economic stimulus package, basically, on some levels. And so, if you look at it like that, then it's hard to believe that this is for any kind of real, authentic, altruistic reasons, right?
True, and there's another point. It helps their depopulation program wipe out millions of people in the process.
I mean, I guess it helps to do that too, right?
If that's your agenda, if your globalist evil monsters they are, I mean, come on,
right?
It certainly has that effect.
Yeah,
no doubt about it, and it polarizes us, so we blame one another, point the finger at who. The black bear, the red scare, that's all bullshit.
Right.
Let's look at the transnational corporation trade agreements. I mean, come on, where's the money moving internationally? That's all you have to follow.
Sure.
Follow the money, man.
Yeah.
Follow the money.
Yeah. For sure. For reals. So Rich is saying Beacon Research, Shaw and Company, Biden at 64, Kennedy 17. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing it something different, and Kennedy is not that popular. But I have a hard time. Believing. I really have a hard time.
I don't think that reflects the American people's sentiment. But hey, did any exit polls even represent what's really happening anyway?
Right.
And does the votes? I mean, who knows? The bottom line is, again, look at who Obama's cabinet was when we got the FOIA hearings, not the hearing, but the FOIA request fulfilled. It was all Chase Morgan banksters that chose Obama's cabinet.
Exactly. And he was full of progressive platitudes and full of close Guantanamo and end the wars, all the stuff that made people feel all warm and fuzzy inside. And then when he became president, he was like, well, we're going to have a hard time doing that. All those things that we promised. Brought you a Republican health care plan, and that was about it, right? It's like they got the health care plan through, and that was in, marriage equality through, and that was it. That was about all he did. And he started a bunch of wars. That's about all. That's all Obama did. That's all Obama did was do those two things, and apparently that was enough for people to think like he's doing a great job, for him to get elected again. But Biden hasn't even given anybody that. Like Biden hasn't given anybody even that. Biden has given everybody nothing. Like not one thing. Not one thing. Name one thing that Biden has done. One campaign promise that he's. Name one thing that he's done that's been positive. Like he not even the climate.
That's because it was a parliamentarian that stopped him. Don't you know?
I guess, but it's just he can't. I mean, he had a Democratic majority. He had a Democratic majority. They had a tiebreaker in the Senate, and they could do anything that they wanted, and they did absolutely nothing. And anybody who's paying any attention, there are countless videos on Twitter of Democrats who voted for Biden, a year or two into the Biden presidency, just pulling their hair out and screaming at their their phone cameras, screaming about like, what is going on? What is this? I didn't vote for this. So I just don't believe that he is just that popular. I just don't believe it. But maybe, I don't know. I just don't think that they're going to have a good time. They're not going to have an easy time keeping Kennedy down.
Well, I mean, let's go back to the Obama candidacy. Everything he promised, he had a supermajority for 2 years too. Why would we expect any different? That his vice president would become president and do anything different? I mean, come on, people. It's like if you were in a relationship with somebody who backstabbing you, was treacherous, you think it's going to improve to do a phase 2, 3, 4? How many times are you going to go around that circle? You know what I mean? It becomes self-flagellation. Right. Believe in the, we've all done it probably, in our own personal lives, and then you finally realize, well, that was never going to work, right? I've had it happen, and learn as you get older. Well, look at the Trump administration. 70 of his members of his cabinet and appointees were all insiders too. Steve Mnuchin, the foreclosure king that Kamala Harris wouldn't go after in California. Come on, it's a uniparty. Help us. Alex Azar, when he was head of Eli Lilly, they raised the insulin prices 300%. He was Trump's Health and Human Services czar.
Right.
And you look at Alice Acosta, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, no.
All you got to do is look at the cabinets and what they do, and the presidents are a bunch of they're actors. They're propagandists. They're actors. That's all.
Right.
They are. Now,
do you believe that RFK is a propagandist or an actor?
No, not necessarily. There's a lot of people who do. I did listen to Professor Shiva. Remember you mentioned him?
Yeah, Dr. Shiva.
Him, so I'm glad you did. And I heard a lot of what he's saying, and I understand that. But something, here's my thoughts about that. First of all, RFK Jr. has no chance of the DNC ever allowing him to win. We know that. So you can poop on him actually winning unless he decides to break away, become independent.
What was it? What was the dog? What was the dog? What was the character that says, "I poop on you"? What was it? Do you remember that character? What was his name? I poop on you.
He was great. Yeah, what was his name again? I loved watching him. Conan, right?
Yeah, on Conan.
Who's the little puppeteer guy? Oh God, that was hysterical.
I can't remember his name.
Is he still around?
Conan is still around. I don't know about the dog.
No, I mean the little.
I don't know. I don't know.
Dog.
I don't know anything. I don't know. I think he was a moment in time. Audrey says Cornel West for president. Oh, I said, an unbeatable ticket would be, RFK and Cornel West. I think that would be that'd be a hard
I
ticket to
think the,
beat.
even if they won the popular vote, it would get rigged somehow. Unfortunately, I hate to be a rain on
Yeah, but
parades, but
the
I
thing
mean,
is you have to
realistically,
I don't know, I think when you rig something, you also have to rely on believability of it, right? The believability
yeah.
of the win, right? I don't know, but who knows? I mean, Trump was such a surprise, a surprise to people. um, I guess he wasn't. I think to a lot of people he wasn't that big of a surprise. It was just the media who made you feel like it was a surprise. The whole thing that they fed you the whole way along was like Hillary's got this, and there's no way this guy can win. He's so crazy, and he's just such a lunatic, right? And that all that was, actually very effective in blowing up people's brains, right? Because he won, and oh my God, what are we gonna do? And so it just creates this thing in people's minds, like, oh no, we're going to hell. Here we go. We're sliding down the slip and slide of fascism. This is not fun. Where does it stop? Where does it stop? Oh, and he's a Russian collude. Right? They blew up people's minds to where nobody knows where up and down is, and
that's the agenda because Trump, don't forget, donated to both sides as a businessman, and
exactly.
he played both sides, and he plays both sides. It doesn't really
He plays
matter.
right. He was a Democrat and he ran as a Republican,
Right.
but Hillary Clinton also their campaign elevated the Trump campaign, right? Apparently in hopes that he would be an easy win. So you have this all of it looks very theatrical, right? When you look at it in a certain light. When you look at it in a certain light, it looks incredibly theatrical, right? Because the Clinton campaign thought that Trump would be easier to beat, so they completely they actually elevated his campaign for a while. They CNN gave him all the free airtime right possible. So why would you if he was truly the threat that you thought he was, and not just a ticket to golden ratings, the golden rate, right? If you really thought he was the threat he was, then I don't know, you might act differently. So
No, he served his corporate masters just like she
exactly.
did.
Well, drained the swamp, and he got in and hired the swamp, and then
Yeah, again, it's all give nil razzadalla. We're going to make you believe you have a choice. You have no real choice. I mean, come on, that's the way I see it. Am I cynical? Or am I just realistic?
Well,
I don't know.
I think
It's the way my experience looking at. You know what? The last candidate I got behind was Ross Perot, and actually
really
had a booth in Santa Barbara Cabrillo Boulevard.
Yeah.
Trying to get people to sign petitions. 70% of the people who walked by stopped, had favorable things to say, and signed the petition. I was there for weeks on end because every Sunday they have a beach artistic show, and the guy who managed it allowed me to put up a booth for the Ross Perot local group, and but then we know what happened. He pulled up, but he talked about NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, man, and how NAFTA, you don't want that. You're going to hear a giant sucking sound. The jobs are going to Mexico, then to Asia. And since then, people think China's our enemy. That's a load of crap because you got both parties forging these trade agreements, bipartisan, right? Kev, NAFTA, but then it went to the Asian Free Trade Agreement, Asian Free Trade Agreement, Trans-Pacific Pact, and all that did was suck those manufacturing facility jobs right out of the United States, and so they can manufacture stuff on pennies on the dollar without any environmental labor regulations, ship it back here, and still make maximum profit.
Right.
Well,
he called it out for what it was, right?
Yeah.
And they did,
couldn't let him prevail.
And they did not like that. They did not like him calling it out for what it was. Real quick, let's see. Well, I always like to at least talk about the thing that was in the thumbnail. There's a business park in Charlotte. Clearly, transportation by car is the most efficient use of land. And it's just a big, empty parking lot. Isn't that lovely? all that concrete, heating up, making some heat islands for you. But there's a lot of. Has anybody been checking out what's happening in France? Massive riots, and they basically suspended. They suspended public transportation because the riots are so bad in France. And this is actually more about these riots are for a different reason, which is sparking a different reaction among like the conservative pundits, which I find a little bit ridiculous, right? They were all, when they're anti-Macron riots, they're like, yeah, look at them out in France protesting and using their rights and such, and look at them, this is freedom. But this is kind of over a situation where like a teenager was killed, an immigrant teenager, and so it's become more of like a, well, this is what happens when you let a bunch of immigrants in. I was like, oh, okay. you guys with your siloed takes, it's kind of ridiculous. I think they're just mostly really unhappy with the way things are being done in France, and they're exercising their right to get out there and shut things down to be heard. I think that's absolutely a fine thing to do. Randomly, did anybody see this large eruption occurring from the sun? I don't know. Some massive solar ejection. I don't know what that means. Does that mean we're going to get a are we going to get an EMP? Are you talking about my t-shirt, Caleb? Yeah, I make these shirts. I make these shirts. You can buy them on my website, which there's a link below. Heat dome is still ramping up in Texas. I have the solar tinfoil. I don't wear the solar tinfoil hat. Who knows? I mean, if there is a massive solar ejection, it can actually affect, it can affect things. And people have talked for years and years about the possibility of a solar ejection, like knocking power out, knocking communications out, knocking us into darkness for a couple days or weeks. I don't know. Earth climate is broken now. This is from Go Green. Jet stream is broken. Heat domes are not only happening, but with a broken, weakened jet stream, heat domes sticking around for days or even weeks and expanding. Texas, one of the hottest places on Earth. Earth forests are combusting. Ocean heat off the scale. Yeah, and it's reaching. It's reaching, the 120 degrees in Texas, which is stupid hot. Portugal is also burning up. Weird weather everywhere. So, derecho across the Midwest. This is from yesterday. That's wild. That was almost the thumbnail today. Pretty massive, quick moving storm. The heat is reaching you, Poppy? Yeah, yikes. While we're talking about t-shirts, yeah, really quick way. I mean, that's a great way to support the show. I can send you, there's Black Bear News t-shirts there if you want to support the show that way. Really great, direct very helpful ways to support the show are paypal.me/Kevin Sandblum, Venmo at Kevin Sandblum, Cash App at Red Llama Music, and buymeacoffee.com/Black Bear News. These are really great ways to support the show and make sure that I get most of what you're donating. So that's also part of it. But I appreciate everybody. Oh, someone did buy me coffees yesterday. It just says someone. So I don't know who I don't know who bought me coffees yesterday, but thank you to whoever bought me some coffees. Much appreciated. Let's see. It's starting to get warm here, though. My computer is starting to slow down. Major Tom on Rockfin says, how about the Flint water for Obama? For me, that was the biggest Obama moment. Right. With Biden, I think it's East Palestine, Ohio. Good points, Major Tom. Great points. The way that has been handled by the Biden administration, and don't think that people don't see it. Don't, again, with the polling, I think it's indicative of how the media really does its best to shape thoughts. And it's kind of part of the whole manufacturing consent thing, which is like the media says something, or the media creates, might do a poll that's heavily skewed, and they report on that heavily skewed poll as reality, and this is really how people think. So we're telling you this is how people think. So everybody that's watching said media go, oh, is that how people think? Okay. Rich, I do not get the full amount from Google. They skim not just a little, but a lot. And it's like 30%. And they also take a really long time to pay me. So I might get the payment from you from Google this month, or in a month or in 2 months. Depends on like how much I made from Google. There's a threshold for getting paid. So if I'm under the threshold, I don't get paid anything for that month. So that's why I'm putting up the direct donate links, which are much more helpful to me, because they're directly donating to me and not going through this big corporate machine that's going like, well, you'll get your money someday, so just letting you know. Creative experiments. The media says we aren't in an economic collapse either. Right. That's true too. They want the good. They want everybody to understand that the good times are still going. You can get out there and shop today. Lori,
Kev, are you going to do anything YouTube today so we can talk about what, or should I keep quiet about that?
Well, there's something I wanted to show. There's a couple clips from Steve Kirsch. But we're really kind of bumping up against the end of the show. But yeah, let's do it. Okay, YouTubers, I'm going to sign off for the day, and I'll see you tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. We're going to go to Rockfin for the last like 5 or 10 minutes, okay? Thank you, YouTubers, for hanging out, and I'll see you over on Rockfin. If not, I'll see you tomorrow at 12 p.m.